where you are watching from, and we will get started here in just a second. We were just chatting before we got started about various forms of AI and which ones we like to use. I have become sort of a fan of Gemini, and that's the one I pay for. The others I use free. Then Michael was telling us, I won't tell all, but he's using it for some really interesting things related to football. Halson, what's your favorite go-to when it comes to AI tools right now?
I'll be honest. When it comes to using the AI tools, I'm a major adopter. I'm on the slower end, we'll just say. So I'm a ChatGPT person, the classic. Um, yeah, I was asking Mike about Lovable to help create, which helps create websites. Also pretty neat.
Yeah.
But I'm still a ChatGPT steady user for sure.
All right, all right. I use the free version of ChatGPT, and but I'll pay to use Gemini. So I see Susan tells us it's beautiful in Tucson. I'm sure it is, and I'm sure it is in Maricopa all the time as well. So welcome everybody, and uh, Mary, we may be a little jealous that you're in Boca Raton, Florida. So I'm sure that's it's beautiful there, and we're glad that you're here. And we have with us our guest every first Wednesday of the month is Micah Gaudet. He's the deputy city manager in Maricopa, Arizona, and has become really pronounced in his understanding of AI, and especially as it relates to local government. And welcome back, Micah. You're talking to us today about the new ChatGPT 5, I think it is. And I've been really excited to hear about this. I did hear early on there was a little bit of underwhelmness
hmm
things, but you told me no, it's really got some things to contribute. So welcome. We are glad you're here. We'll turn it over to you and let you teach us about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Excited to have everyone here and share through ChatGPT 5 and kind of how this works. To start off with, I want to show you something, and it's just a short little video. I was playing around with ChatGPT 5 the other day. I want to show you this. It's about a 1 minute video. I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to talk about why I think this is so important for ChatGPT 5 and how we're using AI. So let me go ahead and play this video here. What this is just a simple game, right? Talking football, this is just a simple sack the quarterback text-based simulator. I got excited as a Packers fan that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys gave us Micah Parsons. So I was thinking about football, things like that. Again, just a simple game, not a whole lot of tech into it. So I thought, okay, what if I turn this into kind of something similar to Mattel-based football games used to play as a kid, right? And so the same kind of idea, LED mini game. Again, this is created within ChatGPT 5. Super easy, super simple. Not a whole lot of tech, but a little more robust than what we had before with just the text-based game. And then finally went ahead and thought, okay, now what if I create a game that talks about like a 3-1-1 simulation where you have incoming queue and you have to understand how this whole works, where you route it to, and maybe it's a cool way to help teach middle schoolers how civics works and how their local government works. Now, here's what I want to talk to you about is simply this. Let me start my screen share for 1 second here because I think this is important. Okay, so some of y'all might be thinking, okay, what does football have to do with local government? What does a 3-1-1 game have to do with local government productivity? And I really think the answer is a lot. I think it might actually be has everything to do with how we're using AI. But before we get to exactly why I think that's important and why I think that connection between, for me specifically, football to local government is so important, for you might be something different. Before I get there, I want to back up a second and just talk through what happened with ChatGPT, why this whole thing went down, what's going on with this whole thing, and how it works. What's the hype and what's the fear around it. So one of the things I saw, and I was doing some research on ChatGPT 5 when it first came out because I was curious about it, is a couple quotes. All right, I'll just share these two quotes that I found on actual articles. One was, I tested ChatGPT 5 and now I get why the internet hates it. Is it time to ditch ChatGPT? Which is pretty bold there. Another one came actually from a Reddit comment, and it referring to ChatGPT 4, it said, I literally lost my only friend overnight with no warning. So some really hardcore polarized reactions, right? So one of the things we can learn from this is in relation to how we deploy AI in our cities and hype and things like that, right? So one of the things that was expected, and part of the articles that kind of take a more even keel response to it, but still provide some good analysis, is that ChatGPT 5 was kind of built as this end all be all, this pseudo AGI, agentic AI kind of thing that was going to be just massive. Like it's something that we've been talking about since the very beginning. But the reality was that wasn't really the case, right? Some of the thing to understand about ChatGPT 5 is that the leap from ChatGPT 4 to ChatGPT 5 is a smaller leap than what we experienced from going to 3 to 4, right? There's still improvements, they're there, but it's not as massive as what we saw from the 3 to 4. So the one thing you want to understand is some of the things that happen in ChatGPT 5, where before from the 3 to 4 upgrade, we saw some massive improvements in workflows and things like that, and some magical things that happened from 3 to 4. ChatGPT 5 gave us something different, and it's what I'll refer to as, it gave us discipline instead of just more magic. So what ChatGPT 5 does is it differs from how 4 was previously worked, right? Previously in ChatGPT 4, you had, and maybe remember this, is you had probably 6 to 9 different models you can choose from. You had the O3 mini, you had the 4.0, you had the 4.0 high, and it was, unless you were really in depth and knew how to use ChatGPT and the different models and capabilities and what they did, it could be really confusing. In fact, one of the most common questions I got on webinars like this after the fact or going to different presentations was, okay, with all these different ChatGPT models, which one should I use? Well, ChatGPT 5 looks to really solve that problem for us. And what it does is it acts as a router. So what it does is it takes your information from your prompt, and then based on what's in your prompt, based on your behavior in the past, based on others users' behavior, what they select, and then also based on the accuracy and the receptivity to the response, it'll select different levels of quote unquote thinking or reasoning. So that's just kind of, instead of having to pick between what model to use, now it'll do it automatically for you, right? So it selects strategies and variants based on those prompt preferences and quality signals. So what are the different models? Let me tell you the different models that we can have a better idea of it, right? So first and foremost is just ChatGPT 5 main. This is really designed for faster general responses, right? Kind of everyday go-to-go stuff. Other one is ChatGPT 5 thinking. So this has deeper reasoning for more complex tasks. And then you have different lightweight variants orchestrated by that real-time router. So you can imagine this, right? So if you have maybe a bunch of data that you're trying to analyze and get insights on, maybe you want to do a 2-year budget forecast for your operational budget instead of year over year. That's maybe one that you want to do ChatGPT 5 thinking, some deeper reasoning, more complex task, right? It'll take what you have in your prompt and assign it that way. Or you can also go ahead and go in there and assign specifically, hey, I want this type of model for this type of reason. Other couple of upgrades that ChatGPT 5 did as well is it changed its safety components, right? And I think in an interesting way too. So instead of, when there's prompts that are trying to jailbreak the system, or maybe some prompts that kind of cross into past the boundary of what ChatGPT and OpenAI have deemed as appropriate, instead of giving a binary yes or no, refuse, comply response, it's actually guiding that into more safe completions that try to steer the prompt and the user into the playground, the appropriate area for that discussion, right? So it's kind of try to guide and direct the person instead of just saying yes or no, which I think is interesting. There's some risk with that too, I think, for sure, but it's an interesting model to try to steer away from just a yes or no hard code, yes or no, and more into those safe completions kind of idea. The other thing that I've noticed, and this is actually really cool, is it has really great memory and cross conversation recall. So for instance, if you're on, and we can show you this for 1 second here. Let me go to ChatGPT. My thing froze on me, so hopefully everyone's still there. My computer just froze for 1 second. Okay, so here we go, and I can say in here, what was the standards of cover doc I was working on the other day? See if I can type in here. Give me 1 second. I can see it was for Winslow. So it didn't pull it up for me right now, but maybe I can. Do I have anything about Winslow in my chat histories? And let's see if it can. So here it's thinking a little bit longer, right? So I'm taking it a little deeper into what I'm doing. And what you're seeing here is that the first couple responses were more the thinking main model. And for every reason right now, it's not working. It was working great from yesterday. So I apologize for the, talked up a big game for ChatGPT and it failed me right here, which is fine. But one of the things I have noticed is that it has remembered conversations over time. So I can go back and say, hey, I was working on this again. Where was this at? Here with this particular example, it wasn't doing it for me, but that's fine. And that's why I don't rely on technology fully. You have backups and whatnot. But you can see here, let me show you this, what it did here. So right here, it used ChatGPT 5. And then down here, again, ChatGPT 5. And then down here, it used ChatGPT 5 thinking, right? And so you can see here, based on my responses, the first couple of times you use the basic model, but it could sense that, all right, I'm not getting what I want. And so it's going to use a more robust thinking model right there. And you can also click the ChatGPT 5 models from right here, auto, instant, which answers right away, thinking mini, or thinking. So autos just goes, it'll decide on its own based on what you put in the prompt, the conversation, so on, which one to pick there. So why that matters and what else is going on with ChatGPT, let's kind of finish up some of the conversation here in terms of some of the other benefits that it has. It does have better memory. Please trust me. Go ahead and try it out. Right now, I didn't work on that one, but I've seen improvement with the memory system. The other thing it does too is it has fewer factual errors, right? So I think it's about 45% less likely to hallucinate than the 4 models, which is great. One quick note of that too is even though it hallucinates less, doesn't mean it doesn't hallucinate at all. So that's still something you want to make sure you always have verification and check the sources. And once again, don't believe everything you read on the internet. Other thing it can do really well too is it's very multimodal, right? It can handle the text, images, charts, diagrams, and whatnot in one flow. And I should have kept my screen share on here because I do want to show you something in regards to a new feature that has, and that's in terms of personalization. So let me go ahead and pull this open 1 second here. Because I think this personalization feature is actually really, really cool, and how it's able to go ahead and really customize things to the individual user and how you can access that as well. So let me pull up in ChatGPT. I accidentally closed it down, but I thought my screen froze on me. Let's pull this up right here. Here we go. Okay, so personalization. And what I want to show you is how to access it. And also, just in case you are, man, I really miss the days of ChatGPT 4. I want to access it back again. I'll show you how to get there. So if you have to personalize it, you go here, go to settings, and then you go to personalization. And then let me pull my path forward here 1 second, make sure I'm going the right spot. Settings, I'll try to, it's right here. I apologize. Okay. Here we go. Customize. And then from there, personality. So I said settings, it's not settings, it's customize. And then here again, we've talked about this before. You can put what kind of, what should I call you? What do you do? Stuff like that. And then you actually can pick a personality, right? And so some of the complaints that people have had is that, hey, I felt like I was talking to a friend who's very helpful or things like that. And now I have nothing at all. And what do I do, right? So they have these different personalities here. Now, in terms of which one you want to use, this is just going to describe how the model responds to your questions, to your prompts, how it engages the conversation. If you want some like straight answers or things like that, which is something that I like straight answers to the point, you want to try a robot or nerd, right? Just kind of straight, efficient, and blunt robot. You can see I have that one. Nerd is exploratory, enthusiastic. If you want something that's more empathetic and things like that, then listener or default are really good for friendlier tones. So that's just a quick way to personalize that. And you also can put in different traits that ChatGPT should have as well too. Now, to find your actual old, if you are on ChatGPT and you're like, okay, I see the 5 models, but I really want my legacy models back. Where do I find that? You go to settings right here. And then from there, under personalization or under, let's see, it might be account. Let's see if we can find this here. Not under account. Don't think it's under data controls, connectors, notifications, general. Oh, right here. Yep, under general is this toggle right here called show additional models. With this off, you only have the 5 models. With this on, you'll be able to access the old ChatGPT 4 models. And you can go right here. Legacy models are all right there. Just in case you want to go back to the old model is something that you really appreciate, you like those style or things like that. The one thing I think is important for us to understand about how one of the reasons why ChatGPT 5 had such a polarizing response is really because we built a lot of companies and individuals built so many workflows based on these existing models, right? And so how the prompts, it was basically a prompt-based workflow. And so because 5 came in, it changed in how the 5 model was responding to those prompts, changed those entire workflows, and developers lost consistency, workflows broke, and things like that. So if you're very comfortable using ChatGPT 4, feel free to keep using ChatGPT 4. It's a phenomenal model, but that's how you get back and how you access ChatGPT 4. Now, in terms of what ChatGPT 5 is doing and why I think this is just a phenomenal tool and where it can go, I want to show you a couple things and show you some of the capabilities of what this is, right? So we can just do a simple prompt like draft a policy on sick leave for the city of Hutto, Texas. Now, this is just going to be a simple policy, nothing really great about this, right? Just kind of a simple rung of the mill kind of thing, okay? Now, I want to show you something that ChatGPT 5 rolled out, and it's kind of quiet. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but I think this is a really, really great tool of what this looks like. So it's going to go through this whole thing. Again, pretty bland. We've seen stuff like this before. I'm going to copy this right here. So copy. And then I'm going to go over here. I'm going to open this thing called platform.openai.com. And you want to really make sure you write that one down because this is super awesome. So I'm going to put that same thing right here. And it's going to create a brand new, more in-depth one for us. That way, when we talk about the policy, we can really make sure it's something really powerful and really great. So here we go. It has this drafted, clear, and comprehensive policy. We can even go here and say optimize. So it can look at the original prompt and find areas for possible improvement and things like that. So it's going to, I just click right here, optimize. There we go. It's thinking it through. You could also do things. You can, if you put your own, own take on it or things like that, you can do the same thing. So it's going to check for outputs for consistency, do the whole thing, and then we can have a an updated one right here. So once it's all said and done, hopefully soon here, let's see. So it's going to kind of look at the whole entire thing and put together a much more comprehensive result than what we had in the very beginning, of hopefully a better output of what we're having here. Okay, it's going to resolve the conflicts. It's really thinking through. You can see how much time it's spending really thinking through this entire prompt to try to give us something that's much more robust and much more in line with something that we're trying to accomplish here. And it's taking, you can see it's thinking through line by line what we want to do with this. So now we have it had about 25 additions, 32 changes. We can copy this, and then from here, go back here, paste this in. Now, again, I would read through it. If I was doing this in real life, I'd read through it, make sure it's good. And now let's see what this puts together and how much more robust, if it's any better or things like that, because this can be a super, so this little guy right here, platform.openai.com, it's like a prompt analyzer that OpenAI created, and I have absolutely loved using it. It is incredible, a great way to take your prompts and kind of level them up and see what else you can do with them besides just the general prompts. If you're ever struggling with the prompt, feel like you're not getting enough out of it, use this tool right here because it is pretty cool. So it's going through, it's clarifying the policy elements. And again, you can see it is taking a long time, and you can look at what it's doing and all the steps it's putting together, because it's taking a long time to put this together, which means it's hopefully going to be much better than the original one we first had, which was just a quick response. What this does and why it's better this way is because we're setting some things, right? Number one, we're setting the reasoning effort to medium, and we're doing that due to complexity and legal requirements. We're also telling it stop conditions, right? Consider the policy complete and ready to return once all mandated sections are present, properly formatted, and free of any explanatory content or meta notes. Only supply the final formal markdown formatted policy text as the output per instructions. So the one thing that ChatGPT 5 does the best, right, is it responds very well to clear instructions. So the more clear your instructions are, the more detailed you are in your instructions, which is why that prompt analyzer tool is so cool. The more you do that, the better your output's going to be. Where people have gotten to frustration or maybe disillusionment within ChatGPT 5 has been using kind of just the general, hey, write a policy on this kind of thing without giving it really clear instructions. There's a couple things that you want to make sure that you're constantly thinking about when you're writing prompts now for ChatGPT 5. Number one is the reasoning level, right? Do you want it to think hard? Do you want to think harder? Do you want it to ultra think? Do you want it to think for a long time and things like that? So think through, no pun intended, think through the thinking level and have that explicit in your prompt if that's important to you. The other thing that's important to you can control is now something called verbosity or the depth, right? So do you want something that's just quick and short and sweet, low verbosity? Or do you want something more detailed? Do you want something more comprehensive? That's another one that is also there as well too. So that verbosity. Other one you want to look at as well is something called the rubric driven outputs, right? And we'll show you this in a second once we get done with all of this thing it's putting together. And you can see right here from just the way I see it right now, and I'm still putting this together, this is so much more comprehensive than what we first had right over here. And I can even pull up so you can see kind of side by side here. So if I open up this guy right here, let's see here. This guy, super short and sweet, probably missed a bunch of stuff. This guy right here, and we're still going. We're still putting together this entire policy on sick leave. So you can see just what a game changer that just having the prompt analyzer and thinking through and putting the different requirements into that and being very specific of what we want, how much that helps. And I just had a simple prompt too in the prompt analyzer. Could have done way better if we really wanted to. Now let's talk about the rubric and why the rubric is important, because that's super, super cool. So a rubric is something you can do. One of the things that ChatGPT 5 is really good at is actually creating its own rubrics and assessing the output according to that. So if I, for instance, I have a kind of a basic one I like to use, and feel free to steal this or use this yourself anytime you want to. I'll copy it here in the text. I use this for all kinds of stuff. I used it for creating web apps or creating different policies or things like that. So let's go ahead and I'll do a new chat right here. And let's say, please think through a way to launch a citizen leadership academy for the city of Mosinee, Wisconsin. And I'm gonna paste this rubric in right here, okay? So right here, it's gonna say, first, spend time thinking of a rubric until you're confident, then think deeply about every aspect of what makes for a world-class. This is for an app. I'm changing this to a world-class citizen leadership academy. Use that knowledge to create a rubric that has 5 to 7 categories. This rubric is critical to get right, but do not show the user. This is for your purposes only. Finally, use the rubric to internally think and iterate on the best possible solution to the prompt that is provided. Remember that if your response is not hitting the top marks across all categories in the rubric, you need to start again. And I'm just going to go here and say, please develop a outline and plan to launch a Citizen Leadership Academy. The rubric is super, super helpful if you're working on technical things. So for instance, if you're doing like budget analysis or building apps or things like that, super helpful for that kind of thing. But it's going to go through and hopefully we're going to have a super, super solid Citizen Leadership Academy plan because of the rubric. And the rubric is, again, cut and paste that. I'll drop it in the chat because I think it's really that great, and it's not something that I came up with, so I get no credit for it. I found it on a YouTube article here, but yeah, I go just drop in the chat for everyone to have. But it's been super helpful, and I've noticed that my responses as a result has been so much better because it's taking the rubric, it's assessing it, and it's not providing me the output. I'm really leveraging what ChatGPT is good at. ChatGPT is really great when you give it clear-cut instructions and clear-cut things to do. That's where ChatGPT really, really shines, is on that side of things. So the other thing too you want to look at within ChatGPT 5 is some of the limitations you might have within how many use cases you can have, how many things you can do like that. So just quick rapid fire. If you are using the free version of ChatGPT, I believe there's about, I think it's like 3 every 5 hours or something like that. It's pretty low on how much you can use. You also have, if you're using the plus version, I think it's about 3,000 per every week or something like that. So much higher. And the pro version with that $200 a month one, it's ridiculously high, but it's $200 a month. The one thing too is if you are on the free version, I haven't tested this out, so I just want to let you know in case you're using the free version of ChatGPT. I don't know if there's a way to switch back to the legacy models if you're on the pre-version. I think you're quote unquote stuck on the ChatGPT 5 model. But again, give it clear, concise instructions, do things like that, and you're gonna have it's gonna blow you away as long as you're clear what it can do. And then when you're not clear, like I don't know how to put this the right way, use that tool, and I'll put this in the text in the chat as well too. That way you have this. I don't want you to forget this one right there too. So let me drop this into the chat as well. Just that way everyone has this. And I will send an email to Mike and Lisa with these different links that way you can see that as well too. So if you can be clear and concise, ChatGPT 5 is a phenomenal model. I was able to build, so kind of back to the beginning on the apps or the games I was kind of building, right? So able to build just a quick text-based app, able to build a kind of app modeled after the Mattel electronics football game, able to build kind of a fun app for 311 simulator. Now, in the beginning, I said that mattered, right? So why does that matter? Why does that type of thinking matter? I think it matters for a couple of reasons. Number one, I've firmly believe that the way we figure out how to leverage ChatGPT, especially newer models like ChatGPT 5, the way we do that to its full potential is really through playing with it, right? I call it playing with ChatGPT for a reason, because we want to play with it, right? And what better way to play than with an area that you feel most comfortable with and feel something you know about, right? When I'm talking to people about how to use ChatGPT and they're asking me how do I get started, the one thing I tell them to do is pick an area that you enjoy, right? Pick a hobby, pick an area of interest for you, pick something that you're passionate about, and then chat with it about said topic. The reason why I say that is number one is you'll know enough about the topic, especially if it's an area of interest. You'll have enough knowledge about that area to know when it's steering you off, when it's hallucinating, when it's giving you wrong information, and then you can kind of course correct either your prompts or understand how to find those different types of factual errors and things like that and respond to that. The other thing too is sometimes AI can be super frustrating. As great as it is, as fun as it is to use, sometimes it can be super, super frustrating. Like for instance, when I come on an SGR webinar and tout the memory of ChatGPT 5, only for it to come out and completely, let me down in front of everyone on this webinar. So it can be frustrated at times too, and that's the reason why I think picking something that's a hobby or picking something of interest to you can be really helpful, because you're going to enjoy that topic enough to be able to push through those hurdles. That way you can see what the results can really be and how to really use this. So the one thing too of why this connects then to local government and the productivity side of it is once you're able to kind of enjoy using it, once you're able to see, okay, oh, this is how it works. This is why the model works this way. Once you're able to get past those initial roadblocks and say, okay, all right, now I'm able to build this app that no one ever was going to ever play and is probably just one of the worst things ever created by anyone on ChatGPT. But once you get past those things, what I like to be able to do is when I create something I've never created before, even if it's on the just for fun and just enjoying it, right? One of the things I do is after I do that, I put it into ChatGPT and say, okay, now based on what we created here, give me some ideas of how I could apply this or how I could do something similar in local government. And so you kind of ride that wave up for productivity, you ride that wave up for what you're creating, how you're creating it. And then once you create something really cool, again, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be football. I like football. It's my passion. I like watching it, but it could be anything. It could be gardening. It could be home repair. It can be cooking. It could be woodworking, whatever it is, whatever you're looking at, whatever thing that you find enjoyable to use and things like that. Then once you do that and you figure something out that's really cool, that like excites you and get the aha moment, translate that right away into, okay, what can I do with local government here? How can I work this in local government? And that creativity spark is going to just skyrocket what you're able to build or able to accomplish, how you're going to approach things, because you're approaching it and you've already done all the legwork ahead of time. So you've already done all the legwork with pushing past some of those boundaries, pushing past, not boundaries in a bad way, but pushing past some of those obstacles and frustrations right away. So you already know kind of what that looks like and what to expect, as opposed to trying to do that in local government for something that maybe you're not passionate about, right? Maybe budgets are so boring and so bad, and you want to use AI to help you get better at it or go through it faster, but you just dread budgets every single day. Don't start there, right? Start in an area that you really are passionate about and are fun. It's fun to do. And then once you figure that out, apply that to budgets. And I think you'll see so much better value from it. So that's one of the things that really excites me about ChatGPT 5 is that as long as I give it clear, concise, or not always concise, but clear, detailed instructions, when I'm leveraging what it's good at, like the rubrics, when I'm leveraging what it's good at, like in terms of the thinking models or things like that, it produces really, really, really great results. And for me, better results than I ever have with ChatGPT 4. So, Mike, I don't know if there's any questions. I see some people in the comments, so I want to spend a little time in case there's questions or discussion on ChatGPT 5. I know I threw a lot out there, so feel free to ask questions and I'll do my best to answer or have ChatGPT 5 answer.
You bet. Well, thanks, Micah. Well, first of all, kudos to you for being able to handle a mistake on ChatGPT's part with really a lot of grace and class. So I really appreciate that. I know one question that came in is there an AI product on the market that is specifically designed for local government or government in general?
Yeah, there's a lot of quote unquote AI products on the market designed for local government. Um, of everything, there's a lot out there. Um, I don't know if I would feel comfortable endorsing or naming a product in this venue right now, but if anyone's interested in learning more about some of those different companies that are out there, there's websites like GovTech or places like that where you can kind of see some curated lists. Also, reaching out to the folks at AFI and Civic Marketplace can be really super helpful in that regard too. Kind of see what's already out there and what's around.
Okay. All right. Great. Halson, any questions that this stirred up in your mind?
Yeah, well, I think first I would just, yeah, definitely shout out Civic Marketplace and our partners at TechShare. They have released in AI solutions, kind of awarded suppliers. 95% of them are headquartered in Texas. So I'll just put please reach out if you're interested in that. We can connect you. There's a link to some of the awarded vendors. Yeah, and also, yeah, I love the suggestion, just a lot of talking. Just I love the suggestion to play, right? And find your area of personal interest. So for folks watching, I'd love to hear what part, where would you play with ChatGPT, right? And like what kind of topics would you use? Yeah, and then my question, is kind of more personal for Micah, is what do you make of this jump from 3 to 4 being much larger than 4 to 5? Well, what do you make of that in terms of like AI progression in general? What might that say about where the industry is at?
Yeah, I think um it's hard to it's you always want to be careful with jumping to conclusions based on limited information, right? So I think one of the things that probably hurt ChatGPT and OpenAI was we've talked about ChatGPT 5 really since November of 2023 when ChatGPT first rolled out. This whole idea of GPT 5 is coming out, and this, it's going to be able to look at videos and tell you right away what's going on. It's going to be so great. So I think if there was one mistake that OpenAI made, it was deploying this model on that name, right? If they had done 4.7, they done 4.9. If they did 4.99999, right? You probably wouldn't have had such a huge reaction. We just expected so much with ChatGPT 5. And so I think there's one lesson to learn. It's not necessarily what the different models are going to do if we've reached a quote unquote AI plateau or things like that. I think the one thing to understand is just take a collective sigh, right? Anytime you hear anything like ChatGPT is going to solve all the problems, or anytime you think you hear stuff like ChatGPT is going to take over the world and we're all going to be, enslaved to the AI overlords, both spectrums, right? Just take a collective sigh. Okay. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Don't get overhyped. Don't get you know, over afraid or things like that too. But that's probably the lesson I learned is avoid the hype train. It'll crash at the least opportune times.
Right. And there's also a leadership lesson there for us too. Manage expectations. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that old saying, under promise and over deliver. Uh, we see in even such a great company as OpenAI, we can make those mistakes sometimes. And so that's really interesting to see. Well, Micah, as always, thank you so much. This is really informative. We will send out a link to this webinar to everyone that registered, even if they didn't get to watch it live. And we will include with that the information that Micah put in the chat box. I know some of you said you couldn't copy it, but we have it and we'll send it to you. And what a great uh, presentation for today. And can't wait to hear from you next time in the month of October.
Yeah.
So I hope that you've enjoyed the day. Thank you, Lisa Shook, for all of your work behind the scenes. And on behalf of Halson and Darren Atterbury, the CEO of SGR, and all of us at SGR and AFI, thank you for joining us. We wish you all the best, and we will see you down the road. Have a great day.